All right, what's going on, y'all? Hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all had a good trading week. This week has been, or this past week, I guess I should say, it's been a little up and down, man. It's been rough with all of the war news going on, tweets going out left and right. I mean, there's so many different factors going on right now in the markets that are making it um, less desirable to trade, to say the least. But of course, there are always still setups to be had. So I want to kind of go over my best trade of the week. And this was a fairly simple read. And this was entered right before Asia session and then held right through Asia Open. So Asia session is basically the main session that I'm trading right now because of my work schedule. So that's really what I'm focusing on. And this was taken on a eval with a 50K Lucid eval with Lucid Trading. So just to get that out there, I'm not claiming that I made $50,000 on my personal account on this trade and all this stuff. No, I'm not here to convey any BS that is not true. So I'm letting y'all know this was an eval trade. This was not like a live account or anything like that. So just letting y'all know. But it worked out really well. So right now we're on MNQ, NASDAQ, NQ basically. But MNQ is what I actually execute my trades on. So this is the 5-minute time frame. And one thing I want to note here is, again, this is right before Asia session starting. Previous day, like this was on Thursday, right? So we had like a huge move up on Thursday and then just kind of consolidation. So what I was looking for was it's either going to keep consolidating or it's going to tank. But we had a move up here. And what did we create here? A trusty old demand zone, and that should be gray. So a 5-minute demand zone, right? But I do not really trade just strictly supply and demand anymore. I want more confluence than that. So you notice that this right here, this is a fair value gap that we came into. Whoops, I didn't mean to click that. This red bar right here is a fair value gap. This is also a massive 5-minute fair value gap as well. And then I believe it was a 15-minute gap. Yes, a 15-minute gap as well. So there's multiple gaps that we're tapping into to potentially blast off and continue rising here. Now that is something that you want to keep in mind. Also, what else do you want to keep in mind? Where is liquidity sitting, right? So what are like some good targets to aim for if you were to either buy or sell? If you were to buy, you could easily look for that as a target to sweep that high, because there's obviously going to be orders sitting up there. If you're looking for lows, you can look for somewhere down here for liquidity. That is one thing that I think a lot of traders kind of mess up on, and something that if you're not focusing on it, you might be getting into trades without realizing like where your target should even be and where liquidity lies. If you don't have anywhere to target, there's really no point in being in a trade because you have no end goal, right? You want to say, hey, if I'm going to buy right here, I want some kind of target for price to go to. Like, why is it flying up right here? Of course, there's a million reasons why it's going up, but where can I potentially see myself exiting, and like a reason for it to get up here would be to sweep these orders, right? Which is exactly what happened. So, like I said, 5-minute time frame, we have the demand zone, we have gaps below, 15-minute gap, 5-minute gap, and then we have a bearish gap right here forming. Well, it already formed. And then what do? I'm going to go ahead and go back to my 1-minute chart for entry. Now, this is the same gap, right? This one right here. Bearish. Now, if we inverse this gap, making this a IFVG, meaning that this is just a normal fair value gap right here, right? Whereas price is going down, it's a normal fair value gap. But if price flies through it, then that fair value gap is now inversed, making it an IFVG. So that is what we are waiting for a confirmation entry. I'm not just entering right at the demand zone. I'm not looking for anything crazy else to enter off of. I'm waiting for the break of this to enter a trade. And then what if this happens, what would I do? I would have my stop under here somewhere, and then my first target would be up here to liquidity, which already gives about a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio, right? So what happens? Let's go ahead and play forward. All right, we start to see some bullish movement. Bam, we had the break right there. So on this break, this is what I got in on, because we have a momentum push through. Now, if price was still looking like this, just barely consolidating, like ticking itself up, slowly stair-stepping up and then breaks it, I would not have entered. But since these candles showed some momentum, and even if we look on the 5-minute, look at this 5-minute candle, boom, it's blasting up and blast through it. So that is what you call like front running the trade, right? You're front running this IFVG break. So I entered right there, right? Now let's go ahead and keep going to see how it plays out. It goes down a little bit. Now, one thing that I like about this trade already at this point is that there's gaps below that are going to act as resistance basically to continue moving bearish. There's gaps below that were created. So guess what? We tap into that gap and boom, we start blasting off into profit, which is awesome. That is what these are just things that are going through my head as I'm, going through this trade, right? And we start to see some consolidation, which isn't really surprising to me, because this is still waiting for Asia open, right? So I'm waiting for the time for the Asia to finally open, and then once we do, you will see it very obviously. Boom, Asia open, bang, we just fly. And once price got about right here and broke this little internal high right there, which is like around a 1 to 1 ish. Yeah, a 1 to 1. That is when I moved my stop to break even. So price flew up above here. So I didn't have my stop at break even until after market actually opened for Asia session. But once it blasted through and broke that little internal high, I moved my stop to break even, and then targeted up here, which is really this data high wick up here, which is the ultimate liquidity where I mentioned earlier. And that is where I eventually took out about 30-ish points. And that was the trade. Pretty simple trade, a nice trade. It was actually, it might have been a little bit higher, like actually it was a little bit higher. It was in like this range right here, 45-ish range, that I actually got out at. And price was just flying, so it flew up there, and I actually had a pretty good exit, because then price ended up kind of slowly trickling and then moved back down actually throughout the session. But I had already made my money, got off for the night, so I was fine with it. But yeah, that was the trade. I mean, simple demand zone setup plus the IFVG for confirmation entry, gaps below that we had tapped into, the 15-minute gap, and looking for liquidity to sweep above. And that is exactly how it played out. It took a little bit of patience for the right entry, and then a little bit of patience to sit through this consolidation for the trade to actually play out. So fairly simple trade, man. And these IFVGs and like fair value gaps, I've known fair value gaps for a while, like just trading demand zones and supply zones, right? So I know what fair value gaps are, and I've had an eye out on them for a while. But now that I'm sort of learning like the IFVG model and stuff like that, it plays out, man. It really works. So this was like a little over $1,100 trade on my Lucid eval. So I'll keep you guys updated for sure if whatever happens to this eval. If I pass it, fail it, I'll let you guys know. My goal on this channel, man, is to be 100% transparent in the journey. Struggles, wins, losses, whatever it may be. I just wanted to give you all this little trade breakdown. But yeah, let me know if you guys got anything out of it down below. I'd really appreciate you guys liking and subscribing to this video if you guys want to continue to support me and support and just follow along the journey as I continue to share you guys with learning the futures market, because if you don't know, if you've never seen any of my videos, I recently switched over from Forex to futures, so that is where we're at now. But hope you guys had a good trading week. Would love to know where you guys are at. If you're trading evals, if you're trading funded accounts, personal accounts, whatever it may be. Hope you're doing well though. And my suggestion is in these markets, man, go watch my last video if you haven't, but I kind of go over that more in depth. Just be patient. Wait for good setups. If price is just consolidating and you don't really see setups, do not force anything. Just get off the charts, go on about your life, and then come back for the next session. That is my suggestion. So a lot of people are getting chopped up in this market because it's not easy. I mean, there's so many different factors going on right now, as I mentioned earlier in the video. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys got something good out of it, and you guys trade safe this upcoming week. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.